Hello and welcome back to the table. Another episode of Finding a Tori, a weekly TTRPG focused podcast where we are currently missing Tori.
We are.
But I think it's worth stating again that Tori is not with us today because the nobler mission takes precedence. She's at the table.
Most important mission.
Role playing at the table. So,
wait, we're supposed to do that?
We miss her.
Her party needs their rogue.
Everybody needs their. Yeah, so we miss her, but we have myself, Malcolm. We have Arcadia in the studio. And we have Jess joining us again for another episode. Welcome, Jess.
Hello. Oh my God. Hello. Thank you.
Let's try again.
Move right back.
Okay. I'm here.
I've done that before where somebody has now told my voice that it was time to start the podcast. And I'm just like, I know. All right.
Not come out how I meant it to.
So we're gathered here in the Finding a Tori studios for a discussion today about a little compare and contrast and something that we continue to touch on. If you go back and listen to our episodes, we kind of kick at the door of this topic so often that I thought it would be a really good idea to sit down and have a conversation with you two about the differences between our hobby, I guess, as the tabletop RPG, that experience of game, that experience of play, and that of video role-playing games, first person singles, the mass ones. Just where those two hobbies intersect and where we believe that they may differ from benefit in community and social. What do you guys think about that? Something you want to jump into?
Well, video games were actually my origin into the RPG genre as a whole.
So it's that different contrast. What about you, Arcade? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Got the caffeine going. I guess that's as good as it gets. It makes the brain cycle.
Okay, so proper caffeination has been achieved. We can move forward. I wanted to talk a little bit first because I'm a huge proponent of the table as a community and connection point. It's sort of at the heart of what we do and what we talk about here on the podcast. What do you think differs? And I'll throw this to either one of you to start. What do you think differs and what is similar in those community and connection elements between TTRPGs, those groups of people playing, and then those that are maybe online and doing the video RPG version?
Sure. Mind if I jump?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think I tend to be where you are, and I tend to focus on the table. I do enjoy playing video game RPGs, but I like the human aspect of being at the table, being able to see people, being able to, look across the table and see, is my gaming partner having a good time today? Or, did something hit them wrong?
All of those in-person social cues.
Yeah. You can read body language. You can, see maybe how people are fidgeting or fussing with their stuff. Or honestly, you can see if they're engaged, particularly if you're GMing. You can look out and see somebody and be like, oh, like the story's not engaging them right now. How do I modify that? And you don't get those cues as much at in a video game
Well,
system.
I wanted to ask that. Is there an equivalency there if I am online and say, you can go to any game that you want to, and I think that the community element's always the same. What am I doing to pick up cues there? Is that hyper communication over audio? Is that talking to people, or do you just not have that element of knowing if I'm playing, a war game of some sort, if the other, people in my platoon are having a good time or enjoying themselves? Is there any of that connective element from the video side that you've seen, Jess?
So I guess there's a difference between an RPG video game and a MMORPG video game.
True.
And most of what I play is gonna be just RPG, which that's solo. for the most
Right.
part. I mean, there are exceptions, like Baldur's Gate 3 has a 2-person option where you can replace one of the party slots with another player.
Right.
So I did play with my sister that way, and that was pretty cool. But I've also played a lot of MMORPGs. I still play World of Warcraft. I still play Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Where would you find connection there in that community? Like, are people checking in on each other? Is there any element to that with it being online?
There can be. It depends on the person and how they do it.
Sure.
So, for me personally, I just kind of play these games like they're regular RPGs, and other people are there, but I don't really interact with them that much.
Okay.
Occasionally, if somebody invites me to join a guild, I will, just because there's XP bonuses and stuff like that. And if I did need to do a group thing in order to progress the story, then there are people there who would help with that. But I prefer to avoid the group stuff unless I know the person in real life personally.
Gotcha. Okay.
But some people who play MMORPGs will start out playing alone, but then they will
Build community.
they will actually build
gravitate
community through that.
Towards that.
I tend to struggle with that.
Sure.
I don't have anybody who I'm friends with that I met online.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the community aspect of those games. If if you, Arcadia, wanted to play
Right,
World
because
of
we're friends
Warcraft with
outside
me,
of it.
then
Yeah.
I would happily do group stuff with you in World of Warcraft. But I'm not really going to seek out those aspects of the game unless I absolutely have to. Like, I used to play with my sister all the time before she stopped playing. Now I don't have anybody that I know in real life who plays World of Warcraft.
And that connection in the
So-
real world is important to you inside of the game.
Yes.
I was going to say, like, just to reference some conversation I had with my kid. He does MMORPGs and, you know, is younger, obviously, Gen Z. And for him, I mean, he's got a game that he's playing right now that his whole thing behind it is, I love the community. Like, he will just go on and on and on about how great and how amazing the community of game players is for this game. And so he has gotten a connection there. He has opinions about, you know, how people's behavior and their engagement and how they move through the world simply from playing this game.
And it also informs him as a consumer on where his dollars will be spent next, that's represented in the game. I think that's very cool. I wanted to jump forward just a little bit to another thing that, again, we at the show kind of harp on, kind of try to shed some light on whenever we can. And that's going to be the benefits, you know, of being at the table and of gaming and of play overall. And I didn't know if you two would be willing to kind of play a little bit of a game and we can think of terms that we associate with these benefits. And then I'd like to know if you think that they fall into yay old bucket of the TTRPG realm, the video game realm, or maybe both, and talk about those answers a little bit. Is that fair?
Yeah.
One of the ones that I see that I think is important is just general stress relief, is to have an escapism situation to where the daily grind is stepped away from fully. And to me, that gets into ideas of immersion into games. And I guess that's my question to you both here is, do you think that there is an equal amount of that ability to escape and get that relief of stress between both of those methods? Or do you think that one excels the other based on how it's done in the media format it's in?
For me, I think it depends on the type of stress.
Okay.
Like, if I've just had a terrible week and I need something to distract me, then either one will suit just fine.
Okay.
Because the TTRPG table is with my friends. Playing, say, Jedi Fallen Order is by myself. But both can be really great stress relievers. It just kind of depends on what it is. If I'm feeling burnt out on, you know, I've had like a million meetings this week or something, and I really just need to not talk to anybody for a while.
Less people.
Yeah, then Jedi Fallen Order is going to be the way to go.
Okay.
I can just immerse myself in the story. I can kill some shit with lightsabers. It's fabulous. Because like, what I seek out for all of these, like the main thread that all of these games have in common for me is immersive story. And honestly, I would choose something more like Jedi Fallen Order for that kind of thing over, say, World of Warcraft, just because World of Warcraft is going to have a bunch of other people doing the same quest as you. And it feels a little less immersive just because you and 5 other people have just been asked to go kill the one boss.
Right.
And you're not grouped up, and you're like, basically, like, if it's a thing that a bunch of people are trying to do all at the same time, then you'll end up with
the fictional walls kind of broken
basically just waiting your turn to go kill this guy as he respawns again. So like, I like the immersion of just a regular RPG. And since I still like playing MMORPGs, even though I don't usually use the community aspect of it. But yeah, so just kind of, if I've not had much going on that week and I want more friends connection, then I'm going to prefer the TTRPGs.
It's that preference. It just kind of
depends.
Arcadia, what do you think in your experience differs there? And then we can move on to other terms, but from that immersion and from that escapism element, the fact that you can slap on goggles and be in a 3D environment, has technology won that battle for immersion and escapism and the stress relief that comes with being in a different world or setting mentally?
Sure. I agree with Jess to a degree, to a point where it sort of depends on what the stress is or, what you need for the escapism. I will say that I think for me, I have to think more when I'm doing a TTRPG. I have to engage in more creative group problem solving, and engage with people outside of the game. And I don't know, a video game, which I love playing, but it's coded. Okay. I mean, like, let's just, it's a computer.
Sure.
And so it's sort of, you can make choices. I can choose to take this adventure or that adventure or this quest or that quest. I can go on side quests or not go on side quests. You have choices, but at the same time, it is also very much a guided experience
within the framework of
the game.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, a video game to me is much more, I can just zone out in playing the video game. So if I just really need to just zone out, escape, that I think works really, really well.
So it's situational application. And I don't do video games the way that we talk about here. I don't play first person games. I don't do MMORPGs.
Well, those aren't first person.
Right. I don't do either of them. Yeah. Right. I just never got into them a whole lot. So I play absolutely unrelated, like sports games. If I'm going to pick up a controller, and it is just for dead brain time, and it's all here and it's all repetitive, and I'm really decompressing and it's good, but I'm not engaged. I'm not really immersed. There could be 18 other things going on that I will have a little part of my brain doing, but that's just shut down space for me.
And World of Warcraft can be kind of mindless at this point for me.
Right.
I mean, if it's something brand new, then I do need to pay attention, but if it's a quest I've done before, because I've been playing it since 2004.
Same thing, yeah.
A lot of it I'm pretty familiar with. So
I'll argue your statement and say Crusader Kings 3.
Right. So there's different things that, are out there, and that's more of a narrative RPG
playing type game that what I was going to say to that point about video games and escapism and everything, the downside of that can be for me is I will get so immersed in the escapism or the fantasy. And also because, let's own it, the games are coded to do this. They keep you going.
Oh, yeah.
So
your little micro
you start
rewards.
playing, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my god, it's been 4 hours." Maybe. Well, no. Oh no, I need to finish that quest.
It's been that the Vegas effect where somebody's like, "Hey, it's 4," and you're like, "In the morning or afternoon?"
Yeah, I have had that happen a few times. Where my husband will fall asleep on the couch, and I'll be sitting on the other end of it playing a video game, and then. Shit, it's 3 a.m.
Right.
So I'll go wake him up and all right, it's time to go to bed now. And he's like, what time is it?
You're like, we aren't talking about that.
in the morning.
So let's stay on topic just a little bit here. And I think we can agree from this conversation that there is immersion both places.
Mm-hmm.
There's stress relief both places. And probably there is unique branches that are situational to where, yeah, if I love playing TTRPGs. If my brain is totally fried after a week of work and business and everything else, love to game with everybody. That's going to fill my social meter. But I should probably spend a little bit of time on the sticks just being, doing mindless stuff. So it serves those different purposes. When we go deeper to therapeutics, I think that we can all agree without degrees in our hand that there's therapeutic benefit to play. It's been established. Where do we think the crossroads, the intersection between them doing similar things, the TTRPGs and the video game RPGs, and then where do they differ? Where do those branches go off and you get something different from a therapeutical element that you would not on the other side?
For me, what really hits me as a difference is the society, sort of two things that go hand in hand. The societal aspect, being in person with people. There is therapy in that for some people, just that statement, being in person with people, whether it's learning social skills, whether it is, working through painful moments in your life, but through socializing, maybe it's developing relationships. There are therapeutic benefits in so many different ways for just socializing with people in person.
Right.
And then I feel like it's connected and related, but slightly different, is in our current society, being online gives us a small amount of anonymity. So like even in an MMORPG where you've got your avatars and you might be really engaged with people in the community online and everything like that, you are not right in front of somebody. And so there is safety in perhaps making choices that you wouldn't make if you were in person.
Anonymity is going to breed the lesser of our behaviors.
Well, and I was going to say it could go both ways. One is, yes, it sort of gives you freedom to be an asshole.
It removes the accountability, or at least an element of it, and you will see people differ their
right
social standards.
And the other side of that for some is that it allows them to more easily be someone else. And that being someone else, that role playing element, has shown to be very healthy and therapeutic and beneficial for someone. So there, I think that coin could go on either side.
And I think that you're right. When you have that anonymity, it can also, it's that mask at the party that allows you to be a little bit bolder in conversation. It allows you to try out ideas without the first person sitting there in your face level of response and reaction and judgment. That all very, very cool stuff. And I want us to continue on if Jess, you had thoughts on it as well.
So actually back to what Arcadia said earlier about the guidedness of it. With a video game, by nature, you have to limit the choices. So in some video games, the choices are basically the good or evil option. Are you going to do the good or evil playthrough? Which one?
Right. Your skill tree and your branch narratively will be guided by your good or evil choice selection.
Yeah. And Star Wars The Old Republic is actually a really good example of this, because you basically got the dark side path and the light side path, and you can kind of do a mix of the two. Like one of my favorite quests, I guess, is like if you play as an Imperial agent, the standard options are to either like join this Sith Lord or to kill him. If you choose the exact right dialogue, that's like a mix of the good and the ones that would
light
earn
and dark.
Yeah, like you can actually talk him down and get him to surrender to you. I did that by accident once. Like, oh my god, I got the Sith to surrender to me. Holy shit! But like, so there is like a mix path if you want, but like you're not going to get to either necessarily, it's not going to have the same result as like, all right, I've gone the full light side path or the full dark side path. And like even at the end, if you've done a mix, then like the ultimate how you deal with the actual big bad at the end, like the end game part is still going to be like that binary of light or dark. Which one do you want?
It feels like a very safe sort of sandbox.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it earlier, but one of the first things I heard you say was limited choices. And for a lot of people, that equals peace and calm in their brain, where if you do an open world infinite, you can do anything, especially these highly narrative games, especially in person with sometimes strangers. You might be, just by dint of doing it that way, not getting the full experience from that person, where maybe they would have more to give in a more anonymous or veiled role to start with.
You're going to hate me because I'm going to be the constant person that says, and the flip side of that is
Right.
that there are going to be people who, they don't want to be kept in a sandbox. They want that. They
Open
need
world.
that, you know, especially when you talk about like things for therapy and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
they want to be able to go off the rails and do something totally crazy that nobody would have ever thought of. For some personal reason that we don't know or understand, but it helps them.
So what I think I'm
Yeah,
hearing
I think
here,
it was there's a benefit to both. Like
Exactly.
sometimes I don't want to have to think about the choice. I don't want to have to make a decision. I know I don't like playing evil because that makes me feel like an asshole. So I think, all right, I'll just pull up Star Wars: The Old Republic, and you know what? I already know by default I'm making the light side choice. So I don't have to think about it. I can just
and you're
go
back
that
to
route.
that escapism, relief of decision making, and getting some rest and some regain of calm with that.
Yeah.
And I think
But
that
then-
you hit the nail on the head. It goes the other way too. It's
Yep.
situational, to where if I need that social therapy, if I need to build those skills so that I'm more comfortable out in the world, walking up and talking to Jess, I'm getting more from that in-person table experience.
Yeah. Or if there's something in particular that you need to work through,
Sure.
you might have to look forever to find a video game that covered that exact thing
Correct.
in its
Right.
guided binary.
Yes.
But you have the open world in a TTRPG to literally work through anything at all.
Yeah, and the
It's a bigger
GM,
canvas.
The GM has the ability, like especially when you're talking about real therapy, when people do this game
When you do it
in
clinically,
therapy,
yes.
that GM can route that game to be whatever it needs to be for that individual.
Right.
person.
You can actually hone in with it as a tool. I hate to do it because we are on a roll. And I knew as soon as we got to this part of it, we'd have a big jump. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our second part of our, I think, just a really good conversation where we get to look at some of the compare and contrasting details that make up TTRPGs versus their video counterparts. We appreciate you being with us on Finding a Tori, and we'll be right back.
When you sit down at the table, open the books, and spill out the dice, you're looking for an epic adventure. Tabletop role-playing is more popular than ever, and every day new players join our great hobby. My name is Steve Kellums, and I'm the host of the Epic Adventure Podcast. I'm just a fan with a radio voice, but joining me on this quest will be Mike Howlett, the co-founder of Oddfish Games, a great independent game company, and Christina Stiso, a PhD student studying game-based learning. Together, we will discuss all things tabletop gaming, from character creation to world building to setting and pacing. We will give you tips and tricks to make your games, well, epic. Like and subscribe to the Epic Adventure Podcast today.
This episode of Finding a Tori is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Finding a Tori podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program. Welcome back from the break on Finding a Tori. This is Malcolm. I am here with Jess and Arcadia, and we are going to continue our conversation that I think is yielding some interesting insights about the differences between what video games and tabletop role-playing games can provide for their players, for their community, and how they do align and how they do not. We were having a little bit of a discussion offline about something that I think is one of the most important things about TTRPGs, and it is just a nerdism to me, but I think that there is something to be said about the ritual of the game. about the arrival and the accumulation of the snack hoard in the middle of the table. The build up to the game, the discussions, the revisiting
dragons that all of us have that just kind of sit next to us.
The mascots, yes, absolutely. And then the silly little stuff like the props that come out. And I find that we have never LARPed. I have never LARPed. I am not a LARPer, but those small little rituals of the gaming session, I think are unique to TTRPGs in the same way that if I hear the start music for the arcade Double Dragon or Street Fighter, I'm going to have a little nostalgia drip right out of that side of my brain. So I wanted to turn it over to you two and see where, with rituals, memories, experience, nostalgia, where do we weigh in there? Does one have a clear difference than the other, or is it all personal?
Okay, so I'll jump. For me, I've played video games, not necessarily RPG video games. I mean, since Atari, since Commodore 64, Nintendo and Sega and, all that. So yes, I'm old, everybody. So there are definite memories around all of that. Some of my favorite, though, speaking to that, particularly back before the internet, my favorite memories of video games are playing video games with people in presence. It was, you had friends over, back in the day before the internet, you had friends over and you each grabbed a controller or you shared controllers.
I was going to say, and let's talk about it really. You didn't grab a controller. You got to a place where the controller would reach with the cord that was attached to, and you took a position because it wasn't any cordless. Yeah, no, yeah, right. You were within 3 feet.
You're standing in the middle of the living room looking at the TV, and the person next to you is 2 feet away with their controller and whatever. And so for me, those memories, that nostalgia, everything really does tie down into that interaction with friends and family.
In person.
Yeah. My whole family played Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. And so when the fantasy type games came out on Nintendo, my entire family sat around, made notes on, the rules and this, going this way is the better option than going that way. And here's the little code that you need to get extra
the magazines
things. Yeah.
That would be in the grocery store aisles that had
the player's guides
and had the cheats and the different levels and the ways to run.
We would, so instead of buying the player's guides, literally we would have someone playing the game. This is my family. So my parents, myself, my sister, and we would have a grid, sheet notebook. We would map out the dungeons, as you walked through them because you couldn't see them. Right. You didn't have a map of them. So we would map them out. We would mark where the monsters were. We would mark, if we learned special codes or tricks or anything like that, we'd make notes of them.
That's fantastic.
And so all my memories of that and the fun of that is sharing it with other people.
And once again, an in-person experience. Let's take that to the more modern version, though.
Yeah, sorry.
And no. I like it because I'm the same way. Once again, if I hear certain startup music, if you give me a Nintendo cartridge right now, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to blow into the end of it twice. Up and down.
You got to blow into the game system sometimes too.
Put it right at the edge of the game system entrance and then slam it down that last 1/4 of an inch and hold the start button.
And then sometimes you have to put something in to hold the cartridge in.
And then you put your heaviest book down on top of the system until it gets too hot.
Jess is looking at us like we are old and ancient and she has no idea.
And that was a ritual. That's if I wanted to play ice hockey on Nintendo. But there's nostalgia there. There's ritual there, but I think that it is the social aspects of what you talked about. For me, it was always me in the bedroom, and just, very rarely did I have that group of people playing the video game with me. So to me, the tabletop experience is more indelible. But Jess, what do you think?
So for me, because the TTRPG is so new, I have zero nostalgia surrounding it, because I've only been playing it for like 2 or 3 years.
So it's a reverse exposure to what we have had.
So in the video games, I didn't really get a lot into that until I was older. It's like, yeah, we had I don't remember. I think we had a GameCube and somebody had a Nintendo 64. But like, I didn't really play that often.
Sure.
I was more of a reader.
Mm-hmm.
It was more once there started being Star Wars games, because my parents showed me, or I think it was my dad specifically. Apparently he sat there in the movie theater in 1977 when the first Star Wars movie came out, just thinking like, this is the best movie ever. I have to share it with my kids. And then with me, since I'm the oldest, he couldn't wait that long. I was 5 when he had me watch the original trilogy. So I've been a Star Wars fan for the vast majority of my life. And so like the nostalgia for me comes in like playing a new Star Wars game. Anytime I get immersed back into the Star Wars
There's a
world,
direct emotional root
yes.
there.
So for that, it doesn't matter the medium. It can be a Star Wars book. It can be a Star Wars movie. It can be a Star Wars video game. It can be a Star Wars themed TTRPG. Any of that. So it's more franchise related to me. Like, so Hogwarts Legacy was fantastic because like, oh my God, this is fucking Hogwarts.
So your nostalgia isn't coming from necessarily the gameplay or the type of gameplay.
It's the fandom.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And since for Dungeons and Dragons, I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with that particular franchise. So it's...
Can I pop a question in?
As long as I can give a very live update very quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
Bird just sent a picture of her game spot set up.
Ooh.
Character sheet ready, poised to play.
I'm jelly.
Peanut butter and... Oh, all right. Sorry.
So what I was going to say is I get the idea of the nostalgia not necessarily being a thing because it's not something that you have done since you were little. But ritual and tradition doesn't take as long to become a thing. Do you feel like there are rituals or traditions either with your, video games or with playing at the table?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Do you do anything like before a WoW session? Like, is there anything that you incorporate ritualistically into your video
I could
gameplay?
lay out a ton that I do at the table.
Yes.
I think I just turn on the game.
Okay. What about
Answer.
what about when sitting down to play Dungeons and Dragons?
Trying to think. I don't know that I have anything yet.
I'll
Like, I
offer
haven't-
one up.
Yeah. Sure.
I have to have at least 4 rolls on a D20 that are 20s before I'll start playing.
Interesting. I have to test my dice. I have to grab all of my 20s and roll them all. And whichever ones are rolling well that day, I separate them out compared to the others.
Now, our friend is not here to defend herself. Tori does this well. Tori gets in there like they're fighting for a job. She's just like, really, just slacking off. Like, she will be talking to the dice. I do it too, but it is so funny. Like, really, you're not going to show up today? You're not? Really? Rolling great last week. Where you at, Fred?
I
wish I had videos
on the D&D Beyond app.
Do you name your dice?
Do I what?
Do you name your dice?
I do not name my dice.
Oh.
I do punish my dice.
Yes. Jess has one hand that is typing into the phone. Mental resources. Who will come and get
More
them?
for me, realistically, just because I feel like these are things that everybody else does in TTRPGs and that I just am not doing. And I don't know if it's because I just haven't been playing long enough to start developing any of these little rituals, or if I just don't care about the ritual itself. Because I mean, realistically, like what draws me to games in the first place is immersive story.
Right.
So
right.
I don't really give too much of a shit about all of the accoutrements surrounding that. I mean, I do love my dice collection, even though I almost never use it because I use the digital dice, because why would I bring that whole dice bag when I can literally just bring my phone? And I'm already using that for the character sheet anyway. Yeah.
It definitely streamlines your experience. Like you've got it all there. So why bring a watch and a clock? You know what I mean?
Well, and I think it does make sense. I mean, just from when we started playing versus when Jess started playing, that we have these traditions that go back to our childhood. If we had started playing in a digital era, we probably wouldn't be quite as much the dice goblin, whatever. What about just like coming to the table? Foods, people, laying out your space at the table, anything like that you feel like you do pretty regularly? Pulling out your notebook to take notes.
Well, I mean, I like.
Does that feel like an obligation or a ritual or something that you do for you in the game?
It doesn't feel like any of those really. Because all right, if I'm going to take notes, then I kind of have to take out the notebook in order to do that. I can't take notes directly on the table unless you want me writing on your table.
I mean, we could put out some butcher paper.
Yeah, like I kind of need to get out my pen, like just functionally in order to take the notes. And since our GM kind of relies on me being note taker.
Well, that's what it's a perfect place to bring up the topic. Do you feel like that is a role that's been hoisted upon you? Would you take notes if I didn't care about them?
Probably, because it's immersive story, and if I write it down, then it's easier for me to remember next time. But it's not. I'm not doing it because it's a ritual or because of nostalgia or whatever. Like I like being able to flip back and like, no, actually,
that's
this
my
is
favorite
what you
part of
said
it,
last
too.
time.
I don't think she realizes it, but I think that's her ritual.
Correcting the GM.
Yes.
Like, so here's where you're wrong. I do enjoy telling people when they're wrong. Nicely, of course. I promise I'm not an asshole.
As Malcolm.
So, I'm going to ritualistically shut the hell up about this. All right. So moving on, and we had talked a little bit off mic about some of the other things, I guess, that don't fit into a tidy bucket about the compare and the contrast and the experience of playing those games and what you're getting out of them. And I just kind of wanted to turn over maybe a freelance topic to either one of you to weigh in on, or do two separate things, and just where your final take on it is from that similarity and non-similarity standpoint.
I think I just had one last little thought about the I guess therapeutic benefits between TTRPGs and video games, and just how they both can have those. It just depends on what you need, because kind of back to that, video games are more of a guide. Like sometimes you just have a binary choice. And if you the thing about the video games is that you have a lot more control over the direction that it goes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in a game like Baldur's Gate 3, where it's all role-based, well, you know what? You've got a save file. If you don't like the outcome of that roll, just go back to your save file. And if a lot of video games, like they don't want you to just stop the game. So if you die fighting the final boss, it resets to your last save and you try again. So you do have more control over the outcome of the game. So if part of what you therapeutically need is, I am in charge here, I am in full control over how this goes.
Right.
And if there is a failure, fuck it, I am trying again. Like in the Baldur's Gate 3 example, it could be as little as, I failed to convince the bartender to give me this thing for free. Well, you can go back on the save file for even something as small as that.
Because you want that story to include the bartender giving you something for free.
Right. So you have full control, even if it does mean backing up a little bit to try again, over the narrative and the outcome.
And that's directly different than a table. Because not only do you have a GM element who's doing a lot of the storytelling, but in most games now it is collaborative. And everybody's got their finger in your pie of that story. Well, and is influencing how it's going to move forward.
Well, and also, there's not you're not typically at the table going to say, "Oh, well, that fight didn't go well. Let's go back and redo it." You know,
no, you're not.
right?
No.
And a couple of things hit my mind when Jess was talking about that, and one is that a key difference between a video game and a tabletop role playing game is that this idea of success and completion,
winning the game.
Yeah. We've been playing the same game of D&D for decades. Like, it's never really how we play. We don't just go through like a module and be like, okay, it's done, and let's move on and do another. Like, we just keep playing, and we might change characters, but we're always interweaving it into the same world. There's always interactions.
It's been a Toria since the beginning.
Right. And the game never ends. There is no end. There is no winning. There is maybe a successful battle.
There's no victory conditions to the game. It's not as though you achieve X, Y, and Z and now you've beaten
the game. Right. It's not a I'm trying to beat the game, or
there's
I'm
no
trying
terminus to it.
You know,
Yes.
like there might be a BBEG that you want to defeat. You may or you may not. And that's just the game. It's not an end of the game. It's not a I don't know. I just that's a big difference.
It is. And to that point, if you're go ahead.
Even say what in a video game would be considered a failure, like failing to kill that final boss, that doesn't have to be a failure in a video game. Like, or what would in a video game be a great success? Like in our Star Wars TTRPG that we've been playing, the players successfully convinced the GM to give us a pet. We adopted a droid. But when we were talking about that, I was like, oh, hang on. That could be a double-edged sword there. It's like, sure, we have this new droid pet, but did any of us scan that for explosives? No, we did not. We just adopted it and brought it right into our inner circle. It's like, well, that could
backfire on us.
That could backfire.
In our minds, that was, yay, we have a new pet droid. But
well, and also things like depending on how you do experience in tabletop role playing, in a video game, I feel like, you know, you when you beat the boss, you gain level, or you know whatever, and when you don't, you don't. When you're doing a TTRPG, even if I lost, that's experience.
And it's role playing.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that you can, by definition, yes, you can in a video game take on the role of the character and make decisions, but
and in World of Warcraft, for example, there are actual role-playing servers where you do, if you in any interactions with other players, you would role-play as your character. Okay. And there are dedicated servers to that, and then there are regular, you know, quote-unquote, regular servers where you don't.
Right, I'm just Mark playing a character,
right.
and you don't have to address me as anything but Mark.
Yeah.
I think that you get more, I'm an immersion guy, and I think that anytime that you're looking for the benefits, most of those benefits are going to be found in a safe space, with varying levels of immersion, where people can get as deep into it as they want to. They can affect the world in the ways that they want to. In my experience alone, TTRPGs give you more access to that.
I will say personally, and I don't have a lot of experience, so I can only, you know, doing something like you're talking about with World of Warcraft, where you're role playing on the server. But to me, it's just very different types of role playing. When I am playing, you know, a video game that's an RPG, I have a character, but I am not that character. I am that character's director, I guess, is sort of how I view it. And I might develop them how I want to. And this is just my own mindset. And I'm sure there's other people who don't view it that way. But I do not get into that role as deeply. I do not get as invested
Investment
in that
level
character as deeply.
Yeah.
When I have to, my words have to reflect my character. My actions,
mannerism
at the table have to reflect my character. For me, I'm said so many times on the show, I'm not huge role player, but I get more immersed in the role playing in that way.
Yeah, and I think so. Part of it, because I guess one of the benefits of video games that I was thinking of is just that they're a lot more visual. Like part of what I loved about Hogwarts Legacy wasn't even just the plot, which was still pretty cool. I mean, you had goblin rebellions and ancient magic and stuff like that, but then part of what I enjoyed about it was literally just wandering the Scottish countryside around
There's
Hogwarts.
a cinematic escapism that there was not when we were watching Link chop down trees,
Right?
and then gritting it out on paper.
Right.
And like
it satisfies a different itch.
Jedi Fallen Order, like you are on different planets and you're in space, and Star Wars: The Old Republic, you jump to light speed in your ship, and
there's high levels of technology that are putting you there visually. Once again, you can strap on the over-the-head goggles and you can get down in.
But these are third-person games,
right?
So you have the avatar in front of you.
Sure.
So Katie's right. That doesn't feel like, I mean, I do like getting immersed in the story, but I'm not role playing as that character.
It's an avatar. It's
especially if I didn't create the character, like Jedi Fallen Order. You just play as Cal Kestis.
You're assigned a character.
This is the character you're playing. I'm controlling.
Right.
Cal Kestis.
And now my investment level is lower, so I think that my immersion is lower in this scenario. If you hand me a character now, I've got a lot more. I'm more confined, and I'm not going to be as immersed in that experience, and I don't think I'm going to get as much.
It's still immersion for me. It's kind of like it's just more like the difference between, okay, I mean, there's a level of immersion that you get from reading a book or watching a movie.
Sure.
This is a little deeper into immersion because you're actually controlling part of the narrative.
Right.
But it's not quite the same as I am role-playing a character that I created myself, like my wizard, and it's like I have a special accent just for her. Same with my bard. I have a different accent for my bard, to varying levels of actual success in imitating those real life accents. But so like there's no visual element to it, but I think you're right that it almost feels more immersive just because there isn't anything that's taking you out of it by the character's third person in front of you. You're literally seeing another person,
right?
Because it's all in your head.
I really think that we could kind of chew at this for a while and come up with but I think the themes that in agree or disagree with me is that beneficial in both places, sometimes specifically so, and to varying degrees depending on where you find your therapy and your benefits. But I still kind of think that you are going to, in person at a table, find a broader spectrum of those benefits than I would personally, I guess is all I could say, than in the digital or video game version, although the cinematic nature of anyway.
It's like, personally, I just do both. Like if I'm by myself, I'm going to play a video game, and if I'm hanging out with my friends, and it's going to be a TTRPG.
Two totally separate things. All right, well, I think that we do need to wrap it up. Thank you for going into the depth that you did and providing the great content and conversation. I always enjoy it. You can find us. You can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can support us at our Patreon, and you can learn more about us at www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. Anything that I forgot? Anything that I missed? YouTube.
Socials.
Yes. Out there, go
Facebook, Insta.
Yes. Talk to us. If you are someone who has an opinion on the topic, the compare and contrast that we did on video games and tabletop role-playing games, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, we will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and bye.
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 This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. Find us at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria if you or anyone you know has stories or other good things to say about TTRPGs. Get a hold of us. You can find us on all the social medias.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. Are you interested in sharing stories of your favorite TTRPG experiences? If so, reach out at www.wordleafmedia.com/contact us on our socials, or you can now leave a comment on your favorite Finding a Toria episode at our Word Leaf Media YouTube channel.